A group of local performers hopes to expand musical education for children in Boston. The GoFundMe campaign is a project of the England String Quartet. To tell us about it is a violinist with the quartet, Julia Okrusko. Thank you very much for being with us, Julia.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, you got this page set up, so where should people look for it?
The people should follow our page on GoFundMe/Learn Music.
Very simple, just
Yes.
learn music.
Yes.
And I guess you must have had some inkling that there's demand out there for this kind of a program. What have you been sensing or seeing in the community?
Absolutely. On so many levels, I've been receiving signals from various groups of people indicating that music is entertaining, music is enlightening, music is good for your kids' brain development, and at the same time music is less affordable. Classical education of music, the very core of discipline that this genre offers to the mind evolution, is neglected right now. Shortcuts are being taken, and for that reason there is a part of our population that is lacking in music education right now.
What do you see in the city of Boston as far as the neighborhoods?
There is a lot of freelancing, there is a lot of independent musicians trying to support themselves by participating in community orchestras or schools started by entrepreneurs, a decade ago. But ultimately, though, the city is trying to step in and help us merge the independent sector with the city-supported education systems. And I'm hoping that by assigning a little bit of funds from our neighborhoods, it doesn't have to be even financial support. You'll see that our campaign is already funded. The goal was $1. And right now we have 15. So we have begun our work, and you can read more about it on our website, music lessons section. Send us an email and we'll start working.
Well, you need money to pay for teaching time, and you also need money for maybe instruments, because not many families can afford that on their own.
Absolutely. I was just talking about it on Facebook a couple hours ago. There is a tremendous outreach when it comes to discussions sparked by musical entities, be it soundtracks or concerts or musicians' debates, theory exploits, sharing classical or popular music. All the genres are really coming to fruition thanks to support of independent backers, as in my case, or companies in other cases. And so we see how music is this bridge that helps to bring entities together. In my particular case, I'm trying to bring to our Black kids a little bit more opportunity to study classical music for free. Because right now, the private lessons that they could pursue would start at approximately $40 an hour, $50 an hour cost if they were to learn something like piano, right? So I'm not seeing for myself an opportunity to study music at that rate. So I'm not going to try to offer it to those who need it. For that reason, I'm hoping that in this little area we can start a discussion about how we're going to fund the music education for these kids.
We're talking with Julia Okrusko from the New England String Quartet. In the city, there's, I think, a diversity of interest in playing all kinds of music, and we've seen this where kids, they love to cross these cultural boundaries. Have you seen some of that yourself?
Of course. My roommate right now is 25 years old. He is from Puerto Rico, and he travels oftentimes to Dudley Square, where they have set up studios for youth to mix music together. Right now, he's shared with me they're working on mixing heavy metal tracks with hip hop. So what they need is perhaps support of educating computer literacy. They probably need some computers for the kids so the shortcuts can be taken, sharing this information that we've learned at Berkeley, that we learned independently online, right? We can create structures within our communities that will gently support these beginnings.
Well, one of the things you've also been doing already with the quartet is you're introducing children to instruments, because for people who look at this as a totally new frontier, they're going to be reluctant, but you've got these kids that they're touching the instruments,
Yes.
they're groping them and making who knows what kind of noise, but I guess they seem to be having a good time.
Of course, who wouldn't? It's a wonderful way to spend time, really. Plus, you get to explore so much within it, just like any video game. You might have heard about No Man's Sky is coming out in October. That's a video game that lets you explore digital frontiers with so much information in them that you would need more than a lifetime to actually play through. In that regard, the quality of time we're having starts to become more of a matter of choice. And kids who choose to get attracted to musical instruments, to make sound on them, of course have a natural tendency to proceed learning with those means in hopes to do the best for themselves and for their communities when it's time for them to make a difference.
No, I can imagine people play an instrument because they like the music that they can perform with. It doesn't matter whether it's classical or rock music or hip hop. But as far as what changes a person once they start playing and playing with other people, what's that?
Well, we ought to look at the very core of things. I've read an article that the part of the brain that responds to music, listening any kind of music, any genre, is different from the organs that process speech recognition. And what that means to us as musicians on every level of society is the ability to communicate faster. That means that we can skip some of the communication steps and therefore advance our cultural aspects of society faster as well. What happens with that on a practical levels is that you'll see certain ideas take charge in entertainment industry, and they become tremendously popular to an extent where the Kardashians' slogan is "family is more important than money." So when we start thinking in those kind of structures, it becomes very apparent that natural gravitation of children towards they actually like should not be limited by something like money. Because we want to do it. We want to do it for free if we can eat for free. Something like that, you know?
You know, there are parents out there saying, well, it's nice for a child to play an instrument,
Yes.
but, you know, they could also be playing soccer or football. And, well, talk about your own family growing up. I mean, didn't people have to make a decision about how much time you can spend on music and how much time you needed for other things?
Of course, it is one of the biggest challenges in general for parenting of all dimensions, you know, to find out how to moderate the balance between spiritual pursuits and material pursuits. There we go into perhaps combining science and arts in a very metaphysical, poetic spheres. In our everyday lives, kids may be having a say in what they actually like to do. There are so many advantages to being a member of a sports team for some of the kids that I don't see any reason why they should be choosing music. That's where we become advanced in our planning of those activities, that the children's evolution would actually, daily evolution of their mindset, of their bodies, would be supported by independent family units as well as our recommendation as professionals in the given sphere.
We're talking with Julia Okrusko of the New England String Quartet. Speaking of sports, you have to function with your teammates. And talk about that, because you do this at a professional level with this quartet. You've got to be looking at the people you're playing with and really mentally tuning into them. Explain how important that is.
That is tremendously important, and that is a foundation for any business and for any pursuit and for any human growth. It is to actually bond with someone and learn from them, at least to a degree that you can. And pushing the boundary of that learning, expanding your networks is also tremendously important. This is why we have another conflict of the modern day, networking, so to speak, in our case, raising funds. I personally feel as much a team with people on the bus, whereas I run late for this interview. And so I can't neglect what they are talking about. I get distracted often, and I take it as a privilege for now, because I know and I hope that people are working everywhere to make things better. I appreciate being here and chatting about it, you know.
Of course, if people want to find out more, one more time, the place that they should look it up.
Please visit nestringquartet.com for New England String Quartet information.
And you also have the GoFundMe location?
Yes, gofundme.com/learnmusic.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Julia Okrusko. We'll have more news in just a moment.